Hey everybody, it's Tom Webster from Sounds Profitable, and it's time for another Data Decoded. So as you know, we put out a lot of research of our own here at Sounds Profitable, but we're not a research company. The studies that we put out because we feel that the space needs them and they need doing, and so we do them. But there's a lot of great research out there from many of you and from many of our partners that we think is important. And over the coming year, we're going to be covering a lot more of that and a lot more of the great contributions from all the companies in podcasting in terms of original reports and surveys and white papers. So more on that to come. But as we get into that season, this period of time where we're really going to be spotlighting and highlighting some of the research that some of you are doing in podcasting, I thought it might be useful to talk about how I think about studies like that when I'm deciding what do I want to slot into my knowledge of the industry and what do I slot out of my knowledge of the industry. And when I look at research, when I look at especially survey research, there's really three kinds of research that I look at. And so I want to spend just a quick second on all three of them. And it may help you as you process data yourself and as you look at industry information that comes out to think about, is this useful to me? How can I make use of it? So there's really three types. One is what we call in my former business probability surveys or probability research. And really simple definition for that, and that is that everybody that could be asked about a particular topic has an equal non-zero chance of being asked. And the simplest way to think about that is, anything that's projectable to the population or to a population, so that it truly is projectable, right? The biggest example of that is the census, and in the census, everybody in the United States has an equal non-zero chance of being selected. They try to get everybody. Now you can do that kind of research, but if you don't have $20 billion a year to devote to that kind of research, then you have a few options. You can do telephone surveys, which are, for years, telephone surveys were the sort of gold standard of research. Since about 2019, there's been very little information on the effectiveness of those. And so we know that they're declining. We don't know what we don't know. We do know that more than 8 in 10 Americans don't pick up their cell phone when it's an unknown number. So I know that there's some work being done on that right now, but I think it's fair to say that the telephone survey is falling out of favor. And I've certainly done my fair share of them, but the data is clouded. But most of what you're going to be able to do here uses a sample company, a panel company, and the reputable ones here basically do a really good job of making this giant panel that they access as representative of the country as they possibly can. And so in that panel, everybody has an equal non-zero chance of being selected. So yes, you're not getting the people who don't agree to be in the panel, but there are ways to model that. Elections, for example, I think online panel research like that is getting increasingly better in polling research because we can look back at the actual results and see what was off and where. But in any case, that kind of research, typically from an online panel company, is projectable to an entire population, whatever population that might be. Generally it might be Americans and so on. So that's one type of research. A second type of research is called convenience sampling. And in convenience sampling, it's self-selected. It's not everybody in that universe has an equal chance of being selected, but people opt into choosing whether or not to take the survey. And you don't know a lot about the people who don't take the survey. The biggest examples of convenience samples are things like a customer database sample, right? When you look at data from somebody's customer database sample, you have to know two things. First of all, not everybody opted into taking it, but also it's only really reflective at all of the customers of that company, right? And you see that all the time with data that's put out by hosting providers. One hosting provider might put out data on their clients or customers, and it might look very different from another hosting company because hosting company A hosts a lot of independent creators, and hosting company B is the house organ for one of the big networks, right? So that data is going to look very differently. The key to processing that, it's all of value, is can you simply describe who they talked to? Can you simply describe who they talked to? And if you can do that, if you can put them into context, then that data is always valuable. Now, when you can't simply describe who they talked to, let's take a Twitter poll. Let's say I put a poll up on Twitter. How much do you like my glasses? And I get some answers back from that. Presumably it's 100%. The problem with that is I can't actually describe the sample. I can't just say Twitter users because I don't reach all Twitter users. I can't really characterize the people that I did reach other than they are the unfortunate souls who followed me on Twitter. And so that is really the third kind of research. And the technical term for that is crap. And that's what I don't look at. That's a lot of surveys that are just, quick polls that are done for content marketing purposes. And if I can't contextualize who they talked to, then I can't really use it in my business. So what I typically look at are, again, probability surveys, generally from an online panel, projectable to a population, or I look at convenience sampling that is done either, a client survey or a customer database, where I can at least describe who the people they talked to were. And often the devil in the details with those is not in the research itself, which I generally find value in, but in how it's reported, right? If I did a survey if I were a CRM company and I surveyed my customers and I reported the data of that to be, 63% of marketers did this, that's not correct. It's 63% of the people you talk to, not 63% of marketers. But given all of that, I always find value in a well-done convenience sample. I always find value in a well-done piece of probability research. Anything else, it's crap. Thanks so much for watching Data Decoded this week. I'm Tom Webster with Sounds Profitable. We'll see you next time.